If you've crossed the age of 50 and still keep most of your money in a savings account, chances are you're on the same path that forces many Americans to work until the end of their lives. It may sound counterintuitive because for decades we've been taught that saving is safe and the more money you have in the bank, the more secure you are. But the truth is, after 50, these old rules almost stop working. The wealthy have known this for a long time. They don't stop saving out of carelessness or recklessness, but because they understand the true nature of money. When it sits still, it loses value daily. Instead of letting their cash sleep in the bank, they put it to work in systems that generate higher returns, fight inflation, and create sustainable income streams. I used to believe that keeping money in the bank was the safest way to protect my future. But after analyzing real interest rates, taxes, and the depreciation of the US dollar, I realized that holding cash in a savings account at this stage is like trying to keep water in a leaky bucket year after year. A little escapes, until one day you realize how much you've lost, and it's too late. With rising costs, longer life expectancy, and more diverse investment opportunities, clinging to the traditional safe zone may be the riskiest choice. The real question is, will you keep playing defense and watch your purchasing power fade away, or start learning to deploy your money like the wealthy do? When building and protecting wealth, most people only consider the visible threats: a stock market downturn, falling real estate prices, or a business failure. But in reality, most of your purchasing power is eroded by silent destroyers, factors few notice until the damage is undeniable. After 50, these destroyers become more dangerous than ever because you no longer have decades ahead to recover from losses. Number 1. Inflation, the silent thief. Inflation doesn't make noise, but its impact is relentless and unavoidable. As the price of goods and services rises yearly, your money loses purchasing power whether you touch it or not. Let's run a quick calculation. You deposit $100,000 into a savings account, earning 4% annually. Sounds reasonable. But if inflation is at 3.2%, your real return is only 0.8%, about $800 per year, before taxes. On a larger scale, with $500,000 in savings, your real gain would barely cover a few months of basic living expenses. I once spoke with Linda, a five-year-old from Texas, who had $400,000 sitting in the bank and believed she was secure. After running the numbers, she realized that in just 5 years, her money's purchasing power had dropped by nearly $40,000 without any significant spending. The wealthy understand inflation is a ruthless game. They always channel money into assets that can at least match and preferably beat the inflation rate, such as dividend growth stocks, real estate, or well-managed investment funds. Number 2. Taxes, the partner who takes their share first. Many forget that bank interest doesn't belong entirely to you. Every dollar of interest earned is subject to income tax, and the rate depends on your tax bracket. For example, from the $800 real return after inflation in the earlier example, if you're in the 22% tax bracket, you'd keep only about $624. And that's an optimistic scenario. For higher earners, the amount lost to taxes can reach thousands of dollars yearly to pay tax on an already meager profit. Mark, a 3-year-old from Florida, had $300,000 in certificates of deposit, CDs, earning 3.8%. After subtracting inflation and taxes, his real return was only about 0.5% per year. As Mark told me, I thought I was preserving my capital, but I was feeding the bank and the IRS. The wealthy don't evade taxes illegally. They optimize them. They leverage tax-advantaged accounts like Roth IRAs, 401, corporate retirement plans, and use asset allocation strategies to convert high-tax income into low-tax or tax-deferred gains. Number 3. Scarcity of time, the shrinking window of opportunity. At 25, you can invest a modest amount and let compounding work for 40 years. But by 50, your greatest ally time is nearly gone. With only 15–20 years before retirement, the ability for your capital to multiply is significantly reduced. Every financial decision at this stage must be more efficient, yield higher returns, and carry carefully managed risk. Take Susan, a 8-year-old from California. She left $250,000 in a savings account for 10 years, earning an average of 2.5% annually. After taxes and inflation, the real value didn't grow, it slightly declined. Had she invested that same amount in dividend growth stocks with an average annual return of 8%, her portfolio could have grown by over $180,000 in that decade. At this stage, time is not just precious, it's your scarcest asset. Every year your money sits idle is a year of lost growth you can never recover. Inflation, taxes, and time aren't new concepts, but together they form the most dangerous trio for anyone over 50 still relying on traditional savings. What makes them so lethal is their invisible nature. You don't feel the impact immediately, but one day you realize your nest egg is no longer enough to sustain the life you want. After 50, protecting your wealth isn't just about holding on to your money. It's about deploying it intelligently to overcome these three destroyers. If money is your army, this is the time to send it into battle, to fight, win, and bring back spoils, rather than letting it sit and slowly wither away. After 50, the wealthy no longer treat money as an impenetrable fortress wall. Instead, they see it as an army that must constantly move and fight. This is the essence of wealth velocity, the speed at which assets are put into motion. The idea is simple. Money sitting still loses value. Money in motion creates wealth. The wealthy view every dollar as a soldier. Soldiers sitting in the barracks never win battles. Only when deployed to the right battlefield can they bring back spoils, in this case, income, capital growth, and tax advantages. Here are three common strategies they use to ensure their money is always working efficiently. After 50, the wealthy no longer treat money as an impenetrable fortress wall. Instead, they see it as an army that must constantly move and fight. This is the essence of wealth velocity, the speed at which assets are put into motion. The idea is simple. Money sitting still loses value. Money in motion creates wealth. The wealthy view every dollar as a soldier. Soldiers sitting in the barracks never win battles. Only when deployed to the right battlefield can they bring back spoils, in this case, income, capital growth, and tax advantages. Here are three common strategies they use to ensure their money is always working efficiently. Number 1, systematic asset conversion. The wealthy rarely keep most of their assets in cash or low-yield long-term savings. Instead, they convert funds into dual-purpose assets that generate regular income and appreciate over time. For example, shares of sustainable dividend growth companies, dividend aristocrats like Johnson & Johnson, PepsiCo, or healthcare-focused REITs. These often deliver 5–8% annually in dividends or distributions, while holding strong potential for capital appreciation. Linda, a 5-year-old from Texas, sold $150,000 of low-yield bonds to buy REITs specializing in hospitals and senior care facilities. Within just 2 years, she enjoyed a 7% annual cash flow, plus a 12% gain in asset value, keeping her portfolio safe while outpacing inflation. Number 2, strategic debt acceleration. It may sound counterintuitive to financial safety, but many wealthy individuals deliberately use low-cost leverage to invest in higher-yielding assets. This is a form of arbitrage. Borrow at a low rate, invest at a higher rate, and keep the spread as profit. Example: borrowing through a home equity line of credit. At 5, 0.8% interest, and investing in a portfolio yielding 4% annually in dividends. But with an average annual dividend growth rate of 8%, the cash flow and capital appreciation could deliver 10–12% returns, far exceeding borrowing costs. David, 54, from Arizona, borrowed $80,000 against his home's equity to buy renewable energy stocks and industrial REITs. Over 4 years, the investments averaged 9.4% annually, covering the loan cost and leaving surplus to reinvest. Number 3. Tax-advantaged acceleration. After 50, U.S. tax laws opened the door to powerful tax-saving opportunities, but most people never used them. The wealthy maximize these tools. 1. Backdoor Roth IRA. Converting funds from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA for future tax-free growth. 2. Mega Backdoor Roth. High earners can contribute beyond standard limits. 3. Cash Balance Pension Plan. For small business owners, it allows contributions of hundreds of thousands annually and reduces taxes while investing long-term. Susan, 58, a California-based physician, set up a cash balance pension plan, contributing $250,000 annually. This significantly reduced her taxable income while investing the funds in healthcare stocks and REITs, generating compounded returns. I used to think investing after 50 meant extreme caution, almost exclusively holding cash. However, studying the wealthy's strategies taught me that the question isn't about risk versus safety, but capital deployment efficiency. You can protect your wealth while growing it using the right approach and managing risks appropriately. Wealth velocity isn't about gambling. It's about ensuring every dollar has a mission, $1 generating income, another growing value, another optimizing taxes. Over time, your entire financial system runs like a well-oiled machine with no dollar left idle in an account, quietly losing value. When you understand and apply the principle of wealth velocity, you'll see that the wealthy don't just hold assets, they keep them constantly in motion. And to make that possible, they adopt a very different mindset. About money after 50-something, we'll explore in detail in Part 4. If you pay attention, you'll notice that the wealthy over 50 no longer see money as most people do. They don't hoard cash out of fear it will run out. They deploy it because they fear something far worse, letting money slowly die in the bank, losing value daily to inflation and taxes. In contrast, the middle class and traditional savers cling tightly to cash, treating it as the ultimate symbol of safety. After 50, this instinct grows even stronger because they believe they don't have time to recover if an investment goes wrong. Ironically, this over-defensive stance creates the most significant risk, the loss of purchasing power. Number 1. Money is ammunition, not a keepsake. The wealthy don't store money in a vault as a sentimental possession. They see it as ammunition to be used at the right time, on the right target, to achieve a result. Ammunition that sits around never wins battles. For example, Linda and her husband, aged 56 and 59 in Ohio, kept $500,000 in certificates of deposit, CDs, for years. They felt safe because the principal was guaranteed. But when inflation rose, their real returns dropped to almost zero. After changing their perspective and shifting 60% into dividend growth stocks and healthcare REITs, they began receiving over $20,000 a year in cash flow, double what they earned before, with the added potential for capital appreciation. Number 2. Calculated aggression. The wealthy don't gamble with their future. They maintain a solid foundation, usually assets with steady cash flow, but direct the rest into opportunities with higher returns, even if they involve moderate, manageable risk. The difference is that they calculate every move beforehand. The percentage of capital allocated to each investment, the maximum acceptable loss, the expected holding period, and exit plans if things go wrong. This allows them to grow while preserving their financial structure. In my experience, this is where most people go wrong. Many are either too aggressive, betting everything on one opportunity, or too cautious, doing nothing. The wealthy at this stage know how to balance both. Number 3, seeing safety and growth as two sides of the same coin. Most people believe safety and growth are opposites. To be safe, you must accept low returns. To grow, you must take high risks. The wealthy think differently. They design portfolios where safety forms the base for growth, and growth, in turn, strengthens safety. For instance, Susan, 58 from California, keeps 30% of her assets in bonds and cash for liquidity, but invests the remaining 70% in dividend-paying stocks, industrial REITs, and a corporate retirement plan. The cash flow from that 70% not only covers her living expenses, but also feeds back into defensive assets, creating a continuous safety growth loop. Number 4, from preserving to building. The key mental shift for the wealthy after 50 is that they don't just preserve wealth, they actively build it. They understand that with longer life expectancy, the financial needs for 20-30 years after retirement are enormous. If they hold on to their current balance and let inflation erode it, they'll face a shortfall sooner than they think. A retired teacher couple from North Carolina proves the point. After 30 years, they had saved $480,000, all in the bank. Their real return after taxes and inflation was about 1% per year, less than $5,000 in annual growth. They began deploying capital using wealth velocity principles when they realized their safe strategy was their most significant risk. Their investment income doubled 3 years later, and their net worth grew by over $100,000. I've seen many people hold on to money for fear of loss, only to lose far more to inflation. Not recklessness sets the wealthy apart. They don't let fear paralyze them. They accept that every decision carries risk, but the most significant risk is letting money lose value while opportunities await. Understanding this mindset is the first step, but turning it into action requires something more: a clear, deliberate plan. Understanding the principle of wealth velocity is one thing, turning it into action is another. Many people know that idle money loses value, but have no idea where to start, especially after 50, when time, risk tolerance, and financial goals differ significantly from earlier in life. I recommend the Wealth Transition Protocol, a 3-stage action plan designed to generate cash flow, preserve capital, and grow assets simultaneously. Stage 1, 6 months. Build the foundation with dividend growth stocks. The goal at this stage is to move most of your savings out of the dead zone and start generating steady passive income. 1. Capital allocation. 50–60% of total liquid assets. In Life 24, 2000, End Life. 2. Deployment channel, stocks from the dividend. Aristocrats list companies with at least 10–25 consecutive years of dividend increases. 3. Examples: Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, PepsiCo, Microsoft, Walmart. Businesses with stable models, durable demand, and consistent dividend growth. Benefits: 1. 3–5% annual cash yield from dividends. 2. 5–8% yearly potential capital appreciation over the long term. 3. Dividend growth over time to help offset inflation. Case in point: Linda, 55, from Texas, moved $200,000 from her savings account into a portfolio of 10 dividend growth stocks. After 1 year, she received over $8,000 in dividends, while her principal appreciated by nearly $12,000. Stage 2, 6–18 months. Generate real estate income without being a landlord. Once your stock portfolio produces income, add another stable revenue stream that is less tied to stock market volatility. 1. capital allocation, 20–30% of total assets. 2. Deployment channel, rental properties or real estate investment trusts, REITs. 3. Priority sectors, healthcare REITs, senior housing, industrial warehousing segments, less affected by economic cycles and supported by demographic trends. Benefits. 1. 5–8% annual cash yield from REIT distributions. 2. Potential property value appreciation. 3. Portfolio diversification to reduce concentration risk. Case in point, Mark, 53, from Florida, invested $150,000 into 3 healthcare REITs. He receives over $800 monthly in distributions, enough to cover most of his fixed living expenses. Stage 3, year 2 and beyond. Accelerate growth with strategic leverage. Once you have 2 stable income streams from stocks and real estate, you can use low-cost debt to scale your assets, a method the wealthy use to shorten their growth timeline. How to do it? Borrow through a home equity line of credit, HELOC, refinance an existing mortgage, or use margin at safe levels. Golden rule: only borrow when the interest rate is at least 2–3% lower than your expected returns, and ensure the cash flow from the new assets covers the loan payments. Case in point, David, 54, from Arizona, borrowed $80,000 against his home at 5.8% interest to invest in industrial REITs and renewable energy stocks. Over 4 years, his portfolio averaged 9.4% annual returns, allowing him to repay the loan and pocket over $20,000 in net profits. Capital preservation rules for this plan. 1. Don't put everything in one channel. No matter how high the returns, diversify to control risk. 2. Keep 6–12 months of cash or short-term bonds expenses. This buffer prevents forced selling during downturns. 3. Reinvest a portion of profits to keep cash flow compounding. 4. Review your portfolio every 6–12 months, adjust for new goals or market changes. This plan works because it moves you out of the danger zone of traditional saving, creates multiple income streams, and maintains capital protection. After 50, you can't afford to go all in, but you can't let money sit idle. This is the balance between defense and offense, a balance the wealthy have mastered for decades. When you apply the wealth transition protocol, you'll see results in as little as 1–2 years. Higher cash flow, higher net worth, and most importantly, the feeling that you're in control of your finances instead of depending on bank interest. But to commit and stay the course, you must overcome the most significant barrier, the fear of risk. When investing after 50, the most significant barrier isn't a lack of money, it's fear. Fear of the market crashing, fear of losing capital, fear of not having enough time to recover from mistakes, fear of becoming a burden to family. I understand this feeling because I've seen many people freeze their financial plans for precisely these reasons. But here's the truth: standing still doesn't make risk disappear. It lets inflation, taxes, and time quietly erode your wealth. Number 1. Identifying the real risk. Most people believe the greatest danger is a market downturn. The most significant risk after 50 is the loss of purchasing power. For example, if your savings account yields 0.5% per year after taxes, but your living costs rise 3–4% annually, you are guaranteed to lose money in real terms. This is called silent poverty. Your account balance may look the same, but what it can buy keeps shrinking. The wealthy understand that the actual risk isn't investing, it's not investing. They don't run from risk, they manage it. Number 2. Strategies to reduce risk. When investing, to overcome fear, you need a structure that gives you confidence, knowing that even if markets fluctuate, you remain in control. The wealthy often use these 4 principles. 1. Diversify income sources. Combine dividends from blue-chip stocks, REIT distributions, and rental property cash flow. When one source dips, others still provide stability. 2. Maintain liquidity. Always keep cash or liquid assets equal to 6-12 months of expenses, so you're never forced to sell investments in a downturn. 3. Focus on quality assets. Invest only in companies, funds, or properties with a proven record of steady returns, transparent management, and durable market demand. 4. Buy opportunities during downturns. The wealthy don't fear crises. They prepare cash to buy high-quality assets at deep discounts. 3. Real-life examples of beating fear. Tom, 60, from North Carolina, kept his entire $450,000 in a savings account for fear of the stock market. After one consultation, he reallocated 55% to dividend-paying stocks, 25% to industrial REITs, and kept 20% in cash. His passive income jumped from $9,000 to over $24,000 annually, while his capital steadily grew through reinvested dividends. Susan, 58, a California doctor, had never invested outside savings and a traditional retirement plan. She feared a 30% market drop would wipe out years of work. After learning to allocate capital and maintain liquidity, she invested in healthcare REITs and dividend growth stocks. 3 years later, her portfolio had grown by over $90,000 and produced stable income. 4. Shifting from fear of losing to fear of missing out. One of the most powerful mental shifts is changing the question you ask yourself. Instead of, "What if I lose money?" ask, "What if I do nothing and my money loses value?" The truth is, both scenarios carry risk, but when you act based on information and strategy, risks are managed and opportunities expand. 5. The calculated safety formula. I often summarize this mindset in a simple allocation. 1. 40% defensive capital, cash, short-term bonds, money market funds for protection and liquidity. 2. 40% income capital, dividend-paying stocks, REITs, rental properties for steady passive income. 3. 20% growth capital, growth stocks, index funds, new opportunities to keep assets compounding. This approach lets you feel secure while allowing your wealth to grow faster than traditional savings. Fear is a natural part of investing. It keeps you alert and cautious. But if you let it control you, you'll miss the opportunities that could transform your finances. The wealthy aren't fearless. They act despite their fears, guided by strategy and data. Once you understand and manage fear, the next focus should be on time, the scarcest asset you have after 50. After 50, time is no longer your ally, it becomes your scarcest asset. Every month your money sits idle in a savings account. You lose growth potential and opportunity you can never get back. The wealthy understand this, so they don't wait for the perfect moment and don't let fear hold them back. They act with calculation, turning every dollar into a soldier, fighting to generate income, build capital, and protect against inflation. The most important message I want you to remember is this: the most significant risk isn't making a wrong move, it's making no move. Inflation, taxes, and time will continue to erode your wealth if you don't put it to work in real, income-generating systems. So, what's your next step? Will you keep playing defense and watch your purchasing power fade away, or will you take control and actively shape your financial future? If this video has given you a new perspective, hit like to show your support, subscribe so you won't miss the next strategy, and share to help more people avoid the financial traps that appear after 50.